newsworthy events like Charlottesville. Right-wing violence is a newsworthy event. It is a man bites dog story. And the reason that shitlibs can tell you this lie is because of the tireless efforts of the deep state, and I really mean the FBI, the United States Department of Justice, Federal Bureau of Investigation. Them. It's not a conspiracy. It's their job. The deep state. Sean Hannity. The deep state's trying to stop Donald Trump. Where? Who? Who are they, Sean Hannity? It's the FBI, Sean Hannity. It's those precious super cops. It is the Listen, when Antifa rioters come through your town and you defend yourself, and then your local police, who happen not to be completely mind-fucked, decide not to do anything about it, when your local police do their actual jobs and let you defend yourself against criminals, do you know which agency will then be coming in to make not only your life worse, but the life of cops who actually do their jobs well? The FBI. A federal investigation.
You've pulled me into this now. I was letting you, because I didn't care. I'm like, whatever. But right. You actually you raised something in my mind here as to why it is fucked up for people like Sean Hannity to be saying that. Because when you refer to the deep state, you say the deep state's after Donald Trump, you actually take what is a concrete problem, like you said, yes, of real people with real faces and names who are committing crimes or subverting the will of the voters or whatever you want to call it. And you turn it into this ephemeral, like, well, there's these shadowy people and I can't define them and we couldn't find them if we wanted to because they're all working behind the scenes. You take it from a real story to a, quote, conspiracy theory.
Yes.
Instead of being about this guy, that guy, these 10 people, these scattered individuals with not necessarily united interests, but who all have a common, enemy, that's a story. Versus there's this deep state that's sneaking around and they slither through from the FBI to the CIA and back and here and there, and we don't actually know who they are or what they're doing. They're like the smoking man who he just walks in and he whispers to someone and says, do this, and they don't know who this guy is, but they're just following orders, and where'd he go? He left, and now we don't know who he is, and nobody knows his name or badge, but somehow he's calling the shots. And it makes it so that no one's ever going to go to jail. No one from the deep state will ever go to jail. People from the FBI can go to jail.
Ready? September 10th, 2020, from The Federalist. Article, headline, New DOJ documents show wholesale evidence destruction by Mueller team. Newly released records from the Department of Justice reveal that multiple top members of Special Counsel Robert Mueller's investigative team claim to have, quote, accidentally wiped data off phones they used during the anti-Trump probe. Many devices were wiped or otherwise disabled before DOJ authorities were able to access them or examine them or the records they contained, including that of disgraced former FBI lawyer Lisa Page. According to email correspondence between the Special Counsel's office and the DOJ Office of the Inspector General, Page's phone had been reset to factory settings, and therefore all data was wiped from the device before the OIG received it. Destruction of data and communication pervaded the team, with more than 20 instances of Mueller team members 20 instances of Mueller team members accidentally wiping their devices, some in seemingly creative ways. While some data was accidentally wiped, other inaccessible data was blamed on personnel incorrectly entering passwords too many times, resulting in information being nuked. Other devices were left in airplane mode with either incorrect or no passwords provided, rendering the data inaccessible. One particularly notable name on the list is Andrew Weissman, the lead Mueller prosecutor the New York Times referred to as the Special Counsel's pit bull. After working under Mueller at the FBI as general counsel, Weissman led the government case against former Trump campaign chairman Paul Manafort. According to DOJ records, upon a March 2018 review, Weissman had entered password too many times and wiped his phone. On another occasion, by September of that year, Weissman again had FBI agents accidentally wiped their cell phone. Data lost, according to records. Records show prosecutor Kyle Freeney's phone was accidentally wiped prior to records review, and James Quarles' phone allegedly wiped itself without intervention from him. A number of devices cited forgotten passwords as a reason for data destruction, including those of Assistant Special Counsel Greg Andre and Deputy Rush Atkinson. if you believe that dozens of FBI agents don't know how to remember their own phone passwords, you're not smart. I just wanted to talk about that. So yes, it's called the deep state when you're talking to normies, and when you're talking to people on the right, it's the FBI. Okay. Oh, there was a clip on The Simpsons, just to show how far the show has fallen, where Homer is going to vote or something, and he's like, "Oh, I can't decide who to vote for president," and then Lisa walks into the voting booth with her dad and says, "How can you possibly not know who you're voting for? Think of all the things that happened over the last 4 years." And then Homer's like what? And then it's like this list of complaints scrolls down the screen, and some of them are absolutely ridiculous. Like, he lost Hong Kong, he destroyed democracy, and like described Meryl Streep as overrated, called Tim Cook Tim Apple, leaked information to the press about the 2017 Manchester arena bombing. And it's funny, actually, putting all these Democrat complaints in a list, now hearing them all after they fell out of the news cycle, makes them, in my view, even more ridiculous. If anybody wants
Scott Adams talks about this a lot.
Mm-hmm.
He said his theory and persuasion about this is that when you don't have a convincing argument, you resort to what he calls the laundry list, which is you list a bunch of things, because then what you do is you get to say, look at all these things. And you might say, yeah, well, this one, it's like when people complain against capitalism. And then you go, well, that objection you just said is wrong. And that one's wrong. And that one's wrong. And I just showed that one was wrong. But they go, okay, sure, I'll give you all 5 of those. Look at the rest of these. There's a ton of them. And then when you start debunking those, they go back to the rest, because there's 300 of them. So what you do is you only can defend 2 or 3 at a time, and then they go back to reclaiming the ones you already knocked off the list. Like the Charlottesville hoax, I bet is on that list.
I'm just going to read off the whole list right now. All right, I'll be quick about it. Here's a full list of like, I'm going to take this as exhaustive, right? Here's a list of everything The Simpsons says happened in the last 4 years, right? I'm sure somebody on the team thought of it. Okay, ready? Made it okay to shoot hibernating bears, put children in cages, called Mexicans rapists, imitated disabled reporter, looks lousy in a tennis outfit, can't get wife to hold hand, called third world country shitholes, called Tim Cook Tim Apple, said Jewish people who vote Democrat are disloyal. Disloyal to who? He said they were disloyal to Israel, by the way, not to the United States. He said if you're a Jew and you're a Democrat, you're disloyal to Israel. So Trump was actually accusing Jews of not having a loyalty to Israel.
But Biden's saying you're not black. That's not going to make anybody's list.
Yeah. Showed top secret documents at Mar-a-Lago restaurant. Called white supremacists fine people. Leaks classified information to Russian ambassador. Asked the president of Ukraine to investigate the Bidens. Called for China to investigate the Bidens. Walked into the dressing room at a Miss Teen USA pageant. Pressed the Australian Prime Minister to help Barr investigate Mueller. Talked about grabbing pussy. Lied about the size of his inauguration. Refused to release his tax returns. Gutted the EPA. Confiscated and destroyed interpreter's notes after meeting with Putin. Tweeted classified photos of Iran missile site. Called Baltimore a disgusting rat and rodent-infested mess. Described Meryl Streep as overrated. Leaked information to the press about the 2017 Manchester bombing. Did not attend any White House Correspondents' Dinner. Said Megyn Kelly had, quote, blood coming out of her wherever. Brought Ivanka to the G7 summit. Ruined impeachment. He ruined the impeachment. You stole fizzy lifting drinks and called Carly Fiorina horseface. Corrupted Congress. Served McDonald.
Wait.
Yeah.
That was corrupted Congress, period?
Corrupted Congress.
In what way? What?
Yes. Served McDonald's to the Clemson football team. Put Jared in charge of the Middle East. Appointed and didn't fire Betsy DeVos. Threatened Marie Yovanovitch. Lost Hong Kong. Destroyed democracy, allowed bounties on soldiers, pulled the U.S. out of the climate agreement, invaded Portland, commuted sentences. That's what it says. Commuted sentences. Withdrew from the WHO, of the World Health Organization.
Just commuted sentences?
Yes, commuted sentences. It also says commuted sentences. bragged about knowing the date, said to swallow bleach, destroyed post office, paid $750 in taxes. This one I saw as a space filler. It says person, woman, man, camera, TV. Oh, I'm guessing that's a quote that I'm missing the context for. Wants third term. Wanted to be on Mount Rushmore, and we haven't even said the worst one. That's how it closes the list. We haven't even said the worst one.
What's the worst one?
Don't know. It's not on the list. They haven't even said it.
That's another thing they do, is they list all these things. It's where you're including 50 things that are just made up that didn't happen, like mocking a disabled reporter or saying white supremacists are fine people. Didn't happen. Provably didn't happen. And then they have all these crazy ones that are just like disprovable, like corrupted Congress, commuted sentences. Okay. Then there's things on there that are like commuted sentences that are arguably good. And then there are things on there where you're just like, I don't even get
democracy.
Yeah, like, oh, he just destroyed democracy. Like, he pushed a button that said, do not push, it will destroy democracy. And it's gone now. You can't vote.
Donald Trump destroyed democracy, which is why we need to vote him out.
Yeah, you beat me to that. And then what they do is they say, and this isn't even and then that the implication is all the worst things that he did, I haven't even mentioned, because that's how you make lists of bad things people do. You go, the thing that's wrong with Hitler is, he didn't smoke and he had a bad haircut and funny mustache. He was rude to people, and there's worse things that I'm not even going to mention. No, you say he murdered people. That's the thing you start with. You don't say, Charlie Manson's a bad guy because he has bad hygiene. You start with the Manson killings. That's the first one on the list. You start with your strongest point. Imagine if Republicans were saying, here's the reasons why we can't vote for Hillary Clinton. All right, we're talking to the public here. You can't vote for Hillary Clinton because, and within the first 5 things on that list was she falsely claimed she was named after Sir Edmund Hillary. You would say, that's all you got? Yeah, she did. That is a crazy lie that she did. She lied and said she was named after Sir Edmund Hillary, and that's a nutty thing. But if that's on your list, then you got nothing. The thing is, I feel like I'm taking crazy pills because when these people do this and they do the laundry list, here's why we need to vote out Trump. Here's why he's unprecedented. He's worse than anybody. They name things that if I really thought those were the only bad things about Trump, I'd vote for him. I'd go, oh, that's it? All he did was commute sentences? That's your worst? Sounds like an okay guy. They never mention like Yemen or anything. They never go facilitating a genocide.
They didn't even mention Jamal. Hold on. They didn't even mention Jamal Khashoggi. That Saudi guy who worked for the Washington Post, he got sawed to pieces by the Saudi government, and Trump ran cover for the Saudis. Do you remember?
Yes.
They didn't even mention that.
You're right. But they mentioned that he doesn't look good in a tennis outfit.
They didn't mention unilaterally moving the embassy to Jerusalem. Remember? The Democrats pretended to care about that. They didn't mention that one either. They mentioned putting Jared in charge of the Middle East, but would you like to tell us anything? What was wrong?
They didn't mention praising Kim Jong-un and meeting with Kim Jong-un. When he met with Kim Jong-un, we were told this is basically him playing footsie with a dictator.
They were like, he's the next Neville Chamberlain, okay? North Korea is going to annex the Sudetenland. They mentioned putting Jared in charge of the Middle East. I would sure love for the writers at The Simpsons to tell me what was wrong with putting Jared in charge of the Middle East.
The implication is, whenever they say this, because they always bring up Jared's in charge of the Middle East.
Yeah, what was wrong with that?
Is worded in a way that makes it sound silly. It makes it sound like Trump handed him the Middle East and said, like he's Douglas MacArthur. And as the
Shogun of Japan,
as the temporary emperor of Japan. What they mean is he's on some task force to try to come up with Middle East policy on the Palestine question.
Yeah, I was gonna say not just on the Middle, it's about Israel. Right?
So when you put it that way, if you said here's what he did, he assigned Jared Kushner to basically head up a policy think tank where you're trying to brainstorm how to fix this problem. Okay, I mean, that doesn't sound that crazy anymore because maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. The point is they're trying to make it sound like Jared Kushner's just some guy who's his son-in-law, has no credentials, and Trump made him dictator of the Middle East, as though it were Hunter Biden being given a $600 billion deal with Burisma. So what they would say is wrong with that